Let's get it. I'm trying to put money in your pocket. That crypto wallet. That bing bada bing ching ching big profit. Even when the market's sideways, I'm looking for ways to get paid. I'm checking my coins around breakfast, then again around bedtime. Bet this, it's not financial advice, but I'm always right. 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 I'm always right.
What is going on, true believers? Day 2 of StreamYard is broke, or whatever is going on here. So working through whatever's happening, and we'll get to whatever it is a little bit. But my hair, how about that? It's going absolutely crazy. Now I can shut this off because it's annoying the shit out of me. Say I don't have a green screen, but then it gets like this, and you know, like, I don't know exactly how this, like, I don't know exactly where we get it, but close enough. Anyway, so a lot going on in the crypto market. Thank you for tuning in. Make sure you hit the like button on the way in. The one thing that you can do every single day, aside from becoming a member of the channel, is hit that like button. Pushes me up in the algorithm. If you're watching me on any other medias, share it with as many people as possible. It helps me out tremendously. And always looking for new projects to talk about because I love talking crypto. So let's break it down. What is going on? And we'll start off with son of a bitch. It's one of those days where absolutely nothing is going right. Blocky. We're going to talk about Blocky first. Roger's back, so we should see some sort of action coming from Blocky over the next 24 to 48 hours. He was on vacation. Vacation's over. He's back. So I expect to see something very, very quickly. Also would expect to see something on WeSoul, most likely. And a lot of that ecosystem. And by the way, it's not an official ecosystem. So when I say that, you know, understand that I'm not really saying that Roger is the guy for all of these. Just he's got his hand in a few pots, and, you know, we could see some synergy there, and that might lead to a nice move. I don't know for sure, but I'm watching that. But in the meantime, it is probably imperative upon you to buy that Blocky dip. Remember, this market is bleeding out. A lot of people are just scalpers, and that doesn't last forever. Eventually things flip, and when things flip, what runs the most parabolic? Well, we know that from experience. The thing that runs the most parabolic is meme coins. So this, in my opinion, is going to be one of those meme coins that just has a fantastic run. Now up to, excuse me, 14,000 followers on X. So, you know, when you get something like that, when you're starting to get that kind of engagement, then that leads to price action. We haven't seen it yet. We've seen a press on price action, but it won't stay that way for long. We're going to see another big, bold move coming very, very soon. So get yourself a bag of Blocky or get left behind. All right, so Crow is up 12% on the day. Fartcoin down 11%. Why is this happening? Well, it turns out Crow was just announced a few moments ago to be part of Truth Social's crypto blue chip ETF disclosure. XRP is not ripping on the news, but Crow is. Why would that be happening? Well, number one, XRP does not need validation. They don't need to be told that they are an elite crypto and that they're going to be the biggest altcoin of this cycle. And I do believe that as altcoins go, or major altcoins, maybe I should have put that in the title, XRP is going to be the major altcoin for this cycle. Now, we're also looking at, if I were to break this down for you a little bit further and say, you know, let's look at a Bitcoin correlation with, let's say, XRP. Look how tight that range is right now. That correlation between Bitcoin and XRP right now is getting down to the point that it is 98% correlated. And if we can agree that Bitcoin is going to have a big move, or that the big Bitcoin move is getting ready to start, which all indicators look like Bitcoin is ready for a breakout, well, then that would mean XRP is too, 98% correlation. So what we get off of this right now is we get the one thing that's been trailing everybody, Crow. And by the way, when we look at Crow, let's be honest here, completely and grossly underperforming right now. Was it 10 cents not that long ago? So being up 15% in an hour, yeah, bro, been here before. You know what I mean? Like, so, you know, if I were, I would be surprised if it goes up at this point to this range, but we could get a breakout and a test up here at that 25-cent range, which I told you guys months ago was going to be that next big move. And, you know, maybe it's starting today, and maybe over the next few days, we see this type of run. We haven't seen this very often, but when we do, that leads to those big runs right there. So maybe this is the one that kicks it off. Maybe this is the validation that Crow has needed for a long period of time to get up into that next level. Now, let's get back to the rest of it. What else is pumping? Nothing really. You got Floki up 4%. You got A up 4%. This is Volta, previously EOS, up 4.4%. You've got Zcash, which is a privacy coin. By the way, privacy coin's probably going to have an incredible run because the Trump administration just dropped the Tornado Cash lawsuit. And that was an appeal, I'm sorry. But they dropped the appeal, which means that you know, these privacy coins will be coming back to America very, very soon. That's at least the start of that process. In the second tier, we've got M breaking out, but we've got Hex dumping pretty hard, and we've got Useless at 12.3. By the way, just a crazy, crazy meme coin going crazy. I've got a couple of things that we're going to be talking about in the private chat over the next couple of hours that I'll be doing videos on. So if you want to get in early, remember, it's $4.99 a month. Become a member of the channel, and you will get that early intel. Make sure that you take your profit very quickly on these, because remember, when we give you these are high risk plays. We don't know what the we definitely know that if you stick with it for too long, price probably going to depreciate. But when we give you this call, we think that the price is going to appreciate, and we're hoping for a nice little run off of that. So don't forget that. Also, Launchcoin, Xano, Cow, Solo having a little bit of a run, but again, that Hex community not clocking in and putting in the work, I guess. H is down 25%. Are we just going alphabet? Like, what the shit is going on here? What do we have here? We've got A in the first category. We've got M in the second category. We've got no letters in the third category. But in the fourth category, we've got H. So we're at the point right now, apparently, where we're just naming things based on alphabet. Psst, what the fuck is going on? Like, are we really doing this shit right now? God damn it. ICNT, iCunt is up 22.5%. SHX up 13.7%. Init, we're starting to see a little bit of movement in some of these lower caps. So that's a good sign to see. We certainly want to see that. And when we look at the market caps, we're seeing about a 2% increase in DeFi, while we're just seeing some upward momentum on Bitcoin. So money is starting to spread out. I don't think we're in that big move area yet. We've got BBT down 41.5%. Baby Boom token was at 49 million market cap, now down, cut in half. But it's also another, look at this, 186,000 in volume, another one of those tiny little micro caps, just manipulating the market, if you will, leading to tremendous sell-off. I hope if you got in there, I hope you made a few bucks off of it. Fear and Greed Index is down to 65. We're starting to see that outward flow of money. Now, we're not feeling it today. We've had a good inflow of capital on the day, but we're looking for this to not continue. What we're looking for, and you know, in all honesty, we're looking for this move right here over into this 30 range so that we can start reaccumulating. If we do that historically, that's how we're going to make the most money. Also, the flow has started to go again. And the reason for that, by the way, on Bitcoin moving off of exchanges is there's the flow yesterday, another 1.98 thousand Bitcoin, 1,980 Bitcoin get bought off those desks. And that's 216 million again. And the ETF for Ethereum, guess what? 24,000 coming off in one day, and that 62 million, again, just good day after good day after good day after, dare I say it, green day. So, guys, I think everybody should be recognizing right now that these things are starting to take off. We're literally watching inflow almost every single day on these major caps. We've got an XRP ETF coming very, very soon. We've got a Solana ETF coming very, very soon. We've got a Cardano coming very, very soon. Probably got a Dogecoin coming very, very soon. There's a lot going on in the background. And while it hasn't led to immediate price appreciation, it doesn't always. Sometimes it takes a few moments for things to align themselves and play their way through the process. And what you're looking for is you're looking for a catalyst. Well, I think I know what the catalyst is that's going to set us off. And here's what I'm going to predict about the way that the market is going to line up. Number one, I think we're getting ready to go on a Bitcoin run. But that's going to be between 120 and 130,000. Then I would expect a massive correction, a massive profit-taking moment. Now, what does that look like? Well, if we just give it kind of a, let me just give you the indication here of what I think is going to happen. I think that we're going to get that big run. I think we get the big surge. It's going to come up here into that 124, 125, 130 range. And then we're going to be in for a stark correction. And if we, by the end of this, if we just kind of, we're guessing, by the way, we're guessing, but if we go from the bottom pivot over here up to the top in that range right there, then, we get that surge. And if I'm right, and it's 124, just like right in that range right there, then I could see a correction all the way back down to that 786 number, which right now is going to clock in at about 104,000. Now, this seems like a potential play out. If I change this to a weekly and we look at it from a weekly, then we might be looking at something even steeper and deeper. The pivot is going to be down here at 74,000, which would make it make a little bit more sense when we look at it in the overall right there. All right, so when we get there, then what we're looking at is we're looking at a breakdown into 99, back to 100,000, all the way down to potentially 94 or 95,000. So, and with a huge and steep correction taking us down into the 86,000 range. Those are the possibilities that we would be looking at right now, or for that. And when we check out Bitcoin right here on futures, we're looking for a futures gap. Do we have any gaps on the daily? And we still got a gap in a couple of different ranges. So we can expect a visit to one of these ranges. Now we're going to move that because the gap is now right there. And that's going to be right in that range right there. We're going to change this to, all right, so we got that. We want this to be 14. So we have a CME gap right there that's most likely going to need to be filled. Remember, 99% of these get filled. So, and it would make sense, by the way, when we're looking at it from this context, we just gave you on the weekly what it would look like if we got into a steep correction off of the next explosion from Bitcoin. So in the event that that happens, there it is. There's the biggest futures gap that we're sitting on right now that we're waiting to see filled. Now, looks like we might have a little bit in the range right here at about 96, 97,000. There are CME gaps. So they get covered, they get closed, then we start going back up again. And by the way, the market does have a tendency to go into these locations, especially when you zoom out and you start to look at it. And let's look at it one more time with the idea that we're going to 124,000, right? So we do that on here and we say, this is going to be our upswing move right here. And we go into 124 right there. And guess what? Right below where we would expect a significant bounce, right below where our correction is. And what I mean by correction is, once this move were to finish and we break up to the all-time high and we have our little breakout. Then the breakdown goes to the 0.5 or the 0.618, right? So we break down, we come in here, and then wham, you start to see just a candle dip right there. And then you have another big breakout to that 236. Then you have what ends up being maybe even a steeper correction. And in fact, now that I'm thinking about it, probably going to go like this. Probably this right here, most likely with momentum being what it is, and with a breakdown, with the money going into altcoins, we see it break down back to the 0.5. Then we see a break up here. Then we see a steeper and starker breakdown. And then we see the next big rally. And that next big rally takes us to, I want to say, 175,000. So that's what I think is happening. And by the way, I think this is going to happen very, very soon. All right. So again, I think we've got a breakout coming over the next couple of days, weeks, before the end of July. Before the end of July, I think we're going to have a breakout. When we look at, by the way, remember we did this structure the other day. And what we said was, you know, we've had this descending trend line on both sides. We've had this channel coming down, but we broke out of it a couple days ago. And guess what? We've just been sitting on top of that range right there. That means, or should mean, that we're going to have a breakout. And let's not forget, when we look at weekly candle closes, this is the highest weekly candle close of all time for Bitcoin. Guys, it's just getting better. It's just getting better and better and better. We're not getting worse. We are in the bull run. So I expect to see some more movement. And when we're speaking of movement, let's consider this. XRP Ledger EVM sidechain hits nearly 1,400 contracts in week 1. So recent XRP Ledger integrations with Wormhole and Axelar have unlocked cross-chain development and injected over 100 million in daily liquidity, accelerating XRPL's role in the multi-chain ecosystem. Citing the explosion of smart contracts on XRP EVM sidechain, technologist Paul Barron acknowledged that this trend has been witnessed because developer demand was going through the roof. He added that the launch enables developers to build, port, and deploy Ethereum-based decentralized applications on XRPL, combining Ethereum compatibility with XRP speed and ultra-low fees. And these are the types of things that need to be built on the XRP ledger to take it to that next level. And what is that next level? Well, if we just consider that XRP is your payment transfer mechanism of the future, at least if we think that that's the case, then we still need to build on this network to create more interest and to continue growing the chain. And it looks like that is happening right now. 1,400 new contracts in the last week. Also, XRP's US trust license bid is a massive game changer for its stablecoin ambitions. Now, remember, Ripple has filed for a bank charter. It's making a regular push. It confirmed it applies for a U.S. trust charter from the New York Department of Financial Services, a move that positions the firm to operate as a limited purpose trust company. The application aligns with Ripple's larger ambition to enter the stablecoin market through a fully compliant and transparent framework. And what that would mean was RLUSD becomes your stablecoin. If approved, the license would enable Ripple to offer custody and issuance services under state oversight, addressing regulatory concerns that have long plagued other stablecoin issuers, such as Tether and Circle. Speaking of which, an off-topic, Tether was denied a MiCA license for their lack of transparency. At the same time, Coinbase and several other companies did achieve a MiCA license. So one of the few companies in crypto that did not get one that applied would be Tether. So interesting times for Tether. I'm not sure how that's going to play out. And remember, Coinbase is in fact the majority holder and owner right now of Circle when it comes down to it. They are the ones that really kind of control USDC in most ways. Along with, by the way, don't forget Coinbase's involvement in the Lightning Network. They are now the biggest developer of the Lightning Network. So, you know, Coinbase, again, you guys know how I feel about Coinbase, but you got to give them credit every single time they continue to come through with new and innovative ways to keep you hooked into the Coinbase ecosystem, if nothing else. This is going to be an incredible move if XRP, back to that. This comes as Ripple is winding down its years-long legal battle with the SEC, which, you know, all this stuff is going to be dropped very, very soon. They're going to pay the $125 million. They're going to move on. And then I assume the Trump administration will find a way to recompensate them for that $125 million, something creative and ridiculous that is going to make Democratic minds explode. You know how Trump does business. You've seen it over and over again, and you know it's coming. So we're probably going to see some crazy shit happen, but hey, here we are. So the global stablecoin market has seen a substantial growth. Now, when I say that, let's go back over here and look at Tether. $158 billion is the market cap for Tether right now. We look at the all-time market cap. It's not going down, folks. This is the all-time. If I look at the 1 month, guess what? Still stair-stepping its way up. If I look at the 1 year, still stair-stepping its way up from, what is this, 112 all the way up to 158. So we're adding billions upon billions upon billions of dollars. Folks, do you see what's happening here right now? People are getting stable coins. They're buying stable coins. Why are they buying stable coins? Well, if you want to buy crypto, you got to have stable coins. So what are they doing right now? They're buying stable coins so that they can transact on blockchains. And by the way, it depends on the chain on where the stable coins are, but we also have that information, all chains over here. We've got the amount of stables that are available for each one. On Ethereum, 127 billion. On Tron, we've got 81 billion. On Solana, we've got 10.1 billion. On BSC, we've got 10.5 billion. This is where all of it is, okay? We can actually see that if we're tracking it. So we know where the money is. The question is, how do we get that money into the cryptos that we're looking for? And by the way, consider this. What do you think is going to happen when some of that $127 billion is employed on the Ethereum blockchain and not just sitting as a stable? Folks, the blockchains are going to explode. The money, the capital, it's all here right now. It is only a matter at this point of appropriate timing to get us to that level. Okay, we are ready for a significant run. Now, by the way, I'm not sure how this is going to play out. This 81 billion on Tron. I think we need to see more. I've told you, I think Justin Sun is running Tron as one of the surprise cryptos of this cycle. I think XRP is number one. It's the biggest altcoin, but I did tell you at one point that I think Tron is going to have that enormous breakout. Problem with Tron is very, very simple. Nobody's building on it. It's only 35 protocols total, but there's $81 billion sitting there for some reason. So I'm going to be watching Tron. I'm not going to be encouraged until I see some real growth, but there's something really interesting that could be going on over at Tron. And by the way, when you consider Tron for just a moment, what is Tron? Well, the idea and the premise behind Tron was music, videos, hosting for people like me, by the way. So it doesn't really need a whole lot of protocols. It should have more than 35, but it doesn't need a whole lot of protocols in order to do what it does. I mean, it has, if YouTube was one of its protocols, let's just consider YouTube is massive. So there is a need for more, but I want to see more to build confidence, but at the same time, there's a lot of money sitting over there right now, just kind of waiting. So if you haven't, check out the Tron ecosystem. I'm not partnered with them, but I'm certainly curious as to what's going on. By the way, 24-hour DEX volume, BSC still over here, like double and tripling everybody else. I'm not sure. This is bullshit to me, and I could be wrong, but that is some wash trading level insanity that I just don't think, I don't think that's healthy. I think there is something very wrong right now on the BSC chain. If you're trading on the BSC chain, cool. Maybe I'm wrong, but the fact that it's got $5 and $6 billion a day when everybody else is struggling at $1 billion or $2 billion, no, that's just not true. It cannot be, because I'm not seeing these BSC tokens and coins just blowing up and exploding all over the place. Not to that level. So I'm certainly nervous about it. Now, Circle's USDC and Tether's USDT currently dominate with a combined market share of over 85%. Blockchain analytics platform Chainalysis reports that US-based users accounted for nearly 43% of all stablecoin transactions. So we control the stablecoins. Well, stablecoins are US dollar based. The United States is in a great position, by the way. And just so you guys understand, the reason that stablecoin matters, the reason that the Genius Act is so important is because it's going to allow multiple different things. Why do I have shit on my shirt here? It's going to allow certain things that we haven't seen before. Now, one of the biggest buyers of U.S. treasuries is Tether. They are now 13th overall in the amount of treasuries that they own. And that is an enormous number. Circle, by the way, is in the top 15 as well. They're buying enormous amounts of U.S. treasuries. And what does that do? That stabilizes the dollar. And what does that do? It means that the dollar stays stronger for longer. So what does stable coins do for the United States? It makes the United States better. And that's why the Genius Act is so important and why we need to have that thing ready to go. And by the way, remember, we are 6 days away from crypto week in the United States. I thought at first this was going to be, that this could be a pump. I think it's going to be done. Like, this is where, we could see a surge from Bitcoin, but most likely we're going to see a dump into this week. Then we're going to get some kind of news over the course of the week. And then boom, by the end of the month, I think we take off. Okay. I don't know if it finishes in July. I think it runs over into August, most likely. I think that Friday expiry near the end of the month is going to be monumental. And we're going to see just massive surges for Bitcoin. But again, that's just speculation. And then we get a dip. And then that dip takes us into another explosive move around towards the end of by the way, at this point, I want to say it is my estimation that we could be looking at something like a triple top instead of a double top like we got last time. And what I mean by that is over here, we had that enormous double top in the markets where we had this big run here, then we had this big run here, and then we dumped hard. Well, that's kind of happening over here and kind of happening over here, and then kind of happening over here again. You know what I mean? Like when we look at market structure, yeah. Ooh. You know what I mean? I don't know what you see. I see an extension of the market. And look, this is what I mean here. So right there and right there, is that right there and right there? Because if that's it, we're done. Market's over. But none of the indicators are flashing, right? None of the indicators are flashing. So most likely scenario, imagine this one, okay? I'm just going to give you what I think is the potential here, okay? And we're going to use which one do we want to use? This one. Let's okay. So all right. So this to this, this to this, this to this. Okay. That's the Elliott wave that played out last time. I don't have this exactly right because that one's a little bit long on there, but with the big wave being right there. All right, so now let's take this and let's move it over here, and let's just say, what I'm saying is let's move this over here just a tad. We're gonna keep doing this, but we're gonna do this right here. That's number one. Then we have number two. Then we have number three. Then we have number four right here. And we don't have five completing yet. Okay. So, maybe five just ends up being that big move right there. And that's our blow off. Okay. Now, if that's the case, cool. We figured it out. But let's take it a step further. What if, and I just gave you this, what if that consolidation sort of range led to that move, right? Well, what if we just kind of move this over and say, well, that consolidation range, actually, what we're looking at is how much further do we have to go? And I know I'm just kind of nitpicking here and moving this shit around a little bit too slow, but what if the start was right there? What if this is our first little impulse? This is our second little impulse. The third wave is the longest wave. So what happens in the longest wave? Well, let's get rid of some of this shit right here. There's the third wave. What if the third wave takes us up into that 130, 140, 150? What if it takes us up into our golden ratio right there? And then we get that breakdown. I told you we'd have a breakdown. What if that breakdown takes us right there? And then we have our blow off, and our blow off is right there like that. That makes sense to me right now, showing you how this market lines up. That if we have this move right here up into testing the all-time high, and we've got that secondary move right there, we've got that little consolidation in range right here, and we've got that exponential big move happening right there, which, by the way, again, that one big move right there invalidates. That just kind of puts it. I think that we're going so much higher. I think that we're going so much farther, and this all makes sense to me. All right. And by the way, when you look at it, you see these kind of patterns emerge over and over and over again. When you get granular on it, it changes just a little bit. But, that to me means that you have that opportunity. 5 Bitcoin right now, you'll be a millionaire. And how much is 5 Bitcoin right now? A little over 500,000. So we're only talking about a 2x, right? We're only talking about a 2x. But if we were to just kind of, Michael Saylor, imagine a 2x for Michael Saylor, by the way. Imagine a 2x for, say, Trump and his cronies. Imagine that kind of just 2.5x easy money happening for everybody who's holding Bitcoin right now. How much profit would you take along the way? Well, when you take that profit, what are you going to do with the money? You're going to throw it into altcoins. So that gets us into altcoins. What's going to happen to altcoins? It is my estimation altcoins are about to absolutely explode. This is the previous market cap. This is right here, the double top right there. And then we've already gone higher than that on this last round. And what did that look like? Well, we go to VeChain. On VeChain, what do we get? We got to break out to 7 cents. Where are we at right now? 1.5. What do we get on XRP? Right there. What do we get? We got $3.40 off of a low of 40 cents not that long before that. We already had a big breakout on XRP. What about Ethereum? We didn't get the all-time high, but we got 4,000 and we double topped 4,000. So, we've seen these runs before. We got an all-time high over here at 300. We didn't get the breakout. We didn't get the explosive moves that we want to see in that altcoin season. So we really haven't gotten that big altcoin season yet, which we're going to get, okay? Which we are still going to get. All the indicators right now tells us zero peak indicators are there. We are in 100% hodl mode, okay? So nothing's broken out the way that with that sort of aggression that we're looking for. Now, there's some of them out here that we're looking at, and where is our value? Well, if you're like me, DevvE is going to be some of your value. Things like that. But we're not talking about those. What we're really talking about is this stuff down here that should have broken out, could have broken out, but never actually did. And that's going to be Chronos because it's ripping right now. But it's up 16%. It was at 23 cents, 25 cents back in December. Okay. So we've seen this before. We're looking for a magical move. And by the way, when I look at it, the more I look at it, the more I see this happening right here. And I think that, that next move, if we get a surge right now in altcoins, wham, we're talking about 31, 40 cents, and then boom, a break. I don't know if it breaks down again. I think, we're going to have a big move. But again, my point is we've got a lot of these that have just look at Fetch. Fetch was at $3.47, currently sitting at about 66 cents right now. And by the way, all these people are telling you that we're not in a bull run. Okay. Let that shit sink in just a minute. We got my boy. I don't know where he is today. Might be sleeping or hung over, whatever he is. Old Matty B. I don't know if he hasn't made a comment here. I'm not sure, but he's been telling you we're not in a bull run. He's been telling you that I'm out of my motherfucking mind, that I have no idea what I'm talking about. And the reason for that is because he didn't take profit up here when Fetch went up to $3.47 from its, what was the move right here? 22 cents. So it 12x'd. We saw it 12x just a few short months ago, less than a year ago, 6, 7, 8 months ago. We went through a 12x on fetch, on HBAR. We went through how much is this? Because God damn it, now Matty B didn't even say anything and I'm pissed off now. 8x for HBAR. Like, we saw a breakout, okay? The question is, did you take your profit along the way? Did you make your money along the way? And did you buy the dip? Right? And the answer to that, most likely, probably not. You probably didn't. Why not? Because you were hoping for that even bigger. Greed got in the way of statistics. And by the way, I'm guilty of it too. I'm not saying that you or, Matty B or anybody like that. I'm not saying it's a single thing. I'm saying that it happened and we all kind of hoped that this was the start of something crazy and that this was just the stepping stone to lead us into those greater highs where we actually go up here into this $1.14 level on HBAR, shit like that. We didn't do that. But think about that crazy, crazy, crazy move that we were able to get. And by the way, speaking of crazy moves, I was able to buy another $60 worth of OM. So we now have over 4,000. Here we go. 4,081 is our total right now. Our DCA is down to 43.4 cents. I'm trying to get that. Hopefully, we'll get a nice little run on KCEX over the next couple days. We'll get another big bag of USDT. You guys trade over on KCEX. That's going to help out tremendously. But if you do that, then basically I'm going to keep buying OM. And I'm just going to keep buying OM. And I'm just going to keep buying OM. And I'm just going to keep buying and keep buying and keep buying. Okay. I've decided for myself that is my new goal. And by the way, let me see if I can throw this up here and how that looks on the screen right there. There we go. All right. So guys, I'm working on it still. There's still some weird stuff going on StreamYard. So as soon as that's fixed, I will let you guys know. Also, XRP emerges as South Korea's top crypto. It's outperforming Bitcoin, Ethereum on Upbit, and Upbit is the major South Korean exchange. Upbit going through something right now, by the way. South Korea not really wanting to license Upbit for some reason. There seems to be a fight going on, but again, because South Korea is now pro-crypto and they have a pro-crypto president, I suspect that won't last for very long. So even though Bitcoin, Ethereum, Upbit have gone through some things with South Korea is about to become very, very pro-crypto, probably leading the charge just like the Trump administration in the United States is. So a lot of good things are going to be happening over the next few months. So, I think we're going to be in great shape. Okay. So if you don't have any XRP, look, I'm going to recommend to you XRP $25 still. I'm not changing my prediction. I still think that XRP is going to be the Learjet. There's my next target zone. And then my final range right there is $25. So if you don't, you should have right now 40,000 XRP. Currently, that's going to cost you about $90,000. So $90,000, you're going to be a millionaire. And anyway, the next big move is going to be right into that little target zone right there. So I think we're gonna have a really, really big move coming up very, very, very soon. Let's get over into some of my stuff here. Now, listen, it is starting to get messy in the DevvE communities. Okay, and I mean, let's just take stock here. Why would a prestigious bank like Delubak partner with Dev Exchange? The architecture of our exchange is designed with regulatory compliance. We're building on on-chain fraud, theft, and loss protections, including practical solutions for lending and privacy that marry TradFi and DeFi principles, and we're non-custodial by design. Cool, meaning Dev Exchange users are always in control of their assets. Very cool. In short, we're infusing Web3 innovations into TradFi safety and security to bring you the best of both worlds. Very cool. What's the first question that you got off of that roadmap? So let's take you through the roadmap process here. And this is the DevvE official group. Let's not forget this happened. We're and it was one of the mods. His name was Ledge, and basically, he was trying to follow what they said. The technical roadmap is finalized and ready to publish. However, we're coordinating its release with one outstanding confirmation, an item we anticipate finalizing within the week. We'll issue the roadmap. They have not finalized it. So Ledge then, and this I think I'm on that date. Yeah, June 30th. That's going to be about 8 days ago. So you see a lot of people talking about it. A lot of people starting to get excited. Then the mods have to stop. They have to get in here. All right. And admins and mods will be ready to answer any question related to that in the following white paper for the exchange. They're going to dive over the topics and stuff like that. Are you allowed to invest yourselves? Blah, blah, blah. Again, a lot of conversation. But the summary of this was that it was going to be released last Monday. Well, then last Monday passed, and they said maybe Tuesday. And guess what? Tuesday, we didn't get anything. We've had nothing but silence from the team since then. Now, and again, like you don't have to take my word for it. Like you go look at the chat. No Tom, no Davin, nobody. They've all gone quiet. Now that should give you cause for like, what the fuck? You know what I mean? Here's the thing. I'm not a baby. I don't need to have my bag massaged. Wait a minute, maybe I do. Anyway, that's hilarious to me. Why am I making jokes in my brain? Because I have issues. Anyway, so why is this important? Well, I think it is my opinion, and I have nothing to back this up. I have no source. I have no information. Okay. But it is my belief now that whatever they've got going on is probably really close to being announced. So now the partner, whoever it is, or whatever it is, whatever's going on there, they are now just kind of saying, well, you know what? Why don't we just a couple more days, and then we're son of a bitch, that thing is back again. And then they're thinking that we're just going to make the announcement, right? Because something big was supposed to happen on July 9. I don't know why that name is there, or why that, why July 9 as the date, or that's what I meant, or what it's all about. I have no idea. So I don't know, but there could be that there's just a big announcement going to happen on the 9th, and then the roadmap is going to launch along with it. Now, going back into what we were just talking about and looking at this a tiny bit deeper, you come down into this range right here, and there are some people that have been talking about it. A week ago, a mod said we were waiting for an outstanding confirmation before the release of the roadmap. I'm asking if the confirmation has been received, or has it been delayed, and should we expect different date or not to expect it at all? And there's been conversation going on about this along the way. People asking, like, what is going on? Why is that? Why is that the thing? And now, of course, the mods are fighting with people over what's going on because they've been placed in a bad situation. We decided to create roadmaps primarily because we saw that the community wanted them. As a project, we don't necessarily need them internally in this form. They were designed to give our supporters more insight into what's being built. It's this right here. Roadmaps are not fixed promises or deadlines. They evolve, especially in complex situations that involve external dependencies. Right now, there's a significant business matter sitting with someone at the very top of the management structure. It unexpectedly became a condition for releasing the roadmap. The team is actively working through it, and once we receive the final confirmation, the roadmap will be published. So yes, we do ask for some patience. We remain committed to clear and honest communication. As soon as we're able to share an official update, we'll do so openly. By the way, this goes back to what I said in the beginning. They don't care about the token. The token, the coin, as it will be one day, is irrelevant at the moment. What matters is their relationships with these businesses. What matters is their partnerships, because that's what generates revenue. That's what they need. They're going to become a thriving business model built around blockchain. And for something like that to happen, for that, for all of this to play out, then you have to at least consider that They've got to satisfy those guys. They don't have to satisfy me. If I sell my bag, oh well, I'm just going to miss out on what I think is a generational pump. Anybody who sells their bag, oh well, you're just going to miss out on what I think is a generational pump. And I'm not saying that it will. I'm saying that I think that that's going to happen. So, Philip, by the way, let me point something out. Philip Toussaint says most boring bull run I've ever seen. And you know what? On the surface, I would say that, except again, I go back to sure as shit wasn't boring when you had a 10x right here. Sure as shit wasn't boring when all these big caps had these ridiculous runs that they went on. It sure wasn't boring right there. And by the way, remember, it didn't last forever. Like none of this lasted forever. We had this run right here, and then it was a slow burn back down and a retest and then a dump again into it. Like we're building momentum. But I mean, the only person that shouldn't be happy is somebody who bought up here. Everybody who bought right here should have taken profit along the way, unless they think that one project is going to make them a multi-millionaire and they're just holding on in desperate hope or something like that. I mean, shift your capital as needed. Take some of your money off of the table. Like one project most likely not going to make you rich. It's still the case. You're still going to need multiple projects to make you that money, unless you're going to hold forever. Like for example, DevvE. I think DevvE is going to $50 in this bull run, right? I think that DevvE is probably, really just days away from going absolutely bonkers. You need 20,000 DevvE as of today to be a millionaire, in my opinion, in this bull run. 20,000 DevvE can be had for right now for, I want to say, $10,000. So, potentially 100x off of that. That's not the end of DevVE's journey, though. When I look at DevvE and I look at what they're doing, I look at it from a let's talk market cap standpoint. What I'm saying is, if it went to a 5 billion market cap, which would make it a top 30 project, probably top 50 when we get into a really bullish run, it would be a top 50 project. But at 5 billion market cap, it would be at $50 because of how many tokens there are. But if it is what we say it is, if it is what we think it is, it's certainly better than Avalanche. It's certainly better than SHIB. It's certainly better than HBAR. Certainly going to have the biggest partner. So maybe we should look at Chainlink. Chainlink's at a 10 million market cap or 10 billion market cap. But where was the market cap for Chainlink in that last run? In that last run right there, December, 18 billion, and it's at 9 billion right now. So that's half. So if it goes back up to that 18 billion level, then why can't DevvE go to that 18 billion level? If DevvE goes to that 18 billion level, then we're talking about $120, $150 DevvE. But what if DevvE becomes the platform, or is already the platform, that real world assets are going to really migrate to, settle on, and be part of something bigger? Okay. Well, then we got to look at price caps over here for major projects, right? Like Solana. Solana's at an $81 billion market cap. DevvE, if it had the market cap, like this is where it gets really interesting. And I'm not saying that this will happen. I'm saying that it's interesting that the possibility exists. And that is, well, if DevvE has the market cap of Solana, $925 per DevvE coin. That's absolute insanity. Okay. That's not Ethereum level. It's not, but I mean, guys, Jesus Christ, are you seeing what I'm seeing right here? How many DevvE would you need if 1 million divided by 925? You only need to have 1,000 DevvE if it were to do that, to be a millionaire. That's $500 right now. See what I'm saying? Like, that's how bullish this is potentially going to be. So, when I tell you, by the way, when I tell you XRP is going to be the biggest altcoin this cycle, when I say that, I mean that XRP is going to be the biggest altcoin this cycle. Next cycle could be DevvE. I don't know that for sure. Very long time, and they could fuck everything up just like that. You know what I mean? Like I'm not locked in that DevvE is going to be the greatest project. I'm locked in that they have right now an incredible narrative that I think is going to absolutely erupt in price. And that's going to be enough to get them, I think, in my opinion, to $50. If that's the case, we're doing great. But don't forget, there is some tremendous upside that goes after that. That's just a 5 billion market cap. What if this thing is worth, what if we've decided, what if we price it in and we look at it and we're like, wait a minute, NASDAQ is the partner, BlackRock has come aboard, Fidelity has come aboard, ERC-20. They've decided they're going to settle their daily transactions in Bitcoin on this chain because it's immediate and instantaneous settlements, and they're moving away from what happens if that happens? Well, then it becomes again an 80 to 100 billion market cap project. And guys, Solana started real low too. Ethereum started real low too. Like we all started here at the bottom before we found our way up. You know what I mean? And I mean the bottom as in the bottom. I don't mean I'm going to lie to you. My name is Drake. Started from the bottom of a upper middle class neighborhood with a built-in pool. Now we're here kind of shit. You know what I mean? I'm talking the actual bottom. I'm talking about the JD Vance living in West Virginia, mom banging cousin level stuff. You know what I mean? Like we're going to be at the bottom and it's going to absolutely spike and go crazy, in my opinion. So let me know what you think. Don't forget, by the way, as we get out of here for the day, you need to have some CoinsChick-Coin. Now, look, I'm not telling you that CoinsChick-Coin is going to be the Learjet absolute banger of this ecosystem. I'm not telling you anything more than, in my opinion, CC Coin has a date with a 10 million market cap, which should be enough at this point for, what's that, a 40, 50, 60, 70x? That's 70x or something like that. That to me would be an incredible accomplishment. Okay. So I'm looking for CC Coin at a 10 million market cap. I'm looking for CC Cash at a million market cap. I'm looking for Blockchain Beauties at a 5 million market cap. I'm looking for all of these different things. And look, there's some weak-handed little bitches who are going to sell off. By the way, those bitches are men. Isn't that weird? Isn't that weird? We can't say that's weird. That's weird. That's weird, right? Anyway, they're selling off because that's what they do. That's what they are. They're not going to be here at the end. They're going to be a failure because, listen, everybody doesn't get rich. Only the people that follow a good strategy or get incredibly lucky are the ones that get rich. Okay. So again, 10 million market cap, 5 million market cap, a million market cap for some of these other things. And it would be an incredible run. And I would be so proud to say that I was part of CC's Coin. So we're going to leave it at that. Blocky, I expect to see a little bit of movement here coming very soon. Puff, all of this kind of stuff. Zoom out here and we take a big look. What we've got is the market really trying to price in. It's like I told you guys before. It is my opinion that liquidity is made out of dick, and the American investors are trying to suck it out. So, low renters. So, but that's where all the stable coins are, unfortunately. So, we have to wait for them to get done being bleedy, seedy, blood-sucking leeches. We have to get, we have to allow that to finish. We're down 160 points on the Dow Jones today. We were up just a few short hours ago, and here's what it looks like. We were up a little while ago, 3.3 trillion. We are now down to 3.3 trillion, which means that we just gave up $30 billion in capital in the last hour. Look at that right there. That's USA for you. USA. What fucking trash, I can't say Euro trash though, because they're America trash. I don't know. Anyway, it won't last. We're testing the 200, and I think we'll break above. Once we break above, then bullish. When we look at the longer terms over here, we're above the 200. We're bullish. We're above the 50. We're bullish. Ultimately, everything is bullish. So that's it. That's the show. We're going to get out of here for the day. You guys have a good day. And remember, none of this is financial advice. Stay safe. Make sure you hit the like button on the way out. And remember, it's not financial advice.